This is the Christian Circle podcast, and you're listening to Pamela Fernandez, where we have conversations about Christian living. Here's the show. Welcome to a new episode of the Christian Circle podcast. Today we have a new guest, Miss Monica Walton, who's going to talk to us about becoming a pro-life volunteer. Monica, tell us a little bit about yourself and your ministry.
Yes, thank you for having me on today. I volunteer with Birthright of Jackson, which is under the umbrella of Birthright International. We are a pro-life crisis pregnancy center, and actually our claim is that we were the first one in the world, founded out of Toronto in Canada over 40 years ago. And Birthright of Jackson has been in existence for 40 years now. I moved to Mississippi and when I was newly married, and when I got pregnant and had my first child, I found out about Birthright. They were located in a different town than me, but as soon as I moved to the area of Jackson, I wanted to volunteer for them. And so in the beginning, I just did whatever they needed because I had small children at home. But after I had my second child, I became the executive director and have been going over 30 years now. I am now a regional consultant for the Southeast region of Birthright in the United States.
Wow, that is actually amazing because I found you on Christmas Eve. I was sitting at Mass, and we have Our Daily Bread, we have the Gospels all written down, and there was an article written by Miss Monica Walton on her volunteering work, and I was so amazed because the carols were going on, and I was reading through it. And I think I was supposed to schedule an email to you the next day, but it went out to you on Christmas Day. And that's how I found you. So, what does this volunteering work with pregnant women actually involve?
Well, it involves, first and foremost, just being a friend. We call it friendship counseling because the women who come to a crisis pregnancy center are afraid. Usually they're not sure what to do, and most of the time it is an unplanned pregnancy. So our main thing is to just help them know that they're in a safe space, that they can trust us, and that we're here not to judge them at all, but to just meet them where they are. We're less worried about how they got to where they are today as to letting them know, first, let's determine that you are actually pregnant, because if they either suspect they're pregnant or they ran a home pregnancy test, and the centers all use hospital grade pregnancy tests. So it gives them that confidence that they can trust in our results. And then we sit and listen to their story. We listen to her story, let her tell us what her fears are and what her worries are and what she thinks she wants to do. We never, at Birthright, we never try to force her into a decision or a choice. We are pro-life, but we do believe it is her choice. And so we just want we help her kind of talk it all through. We listen, and then we gently ask questions to help her sort of first look at, okay, why do you feel this way? Because usually if they are considering an abortion, which a lot of them are, not most, but a lot of them are, but they just don't know how to move forward with it because it's not ideal circumstances. So we sit with them and we gently just guided them with questions as to looking at their resources, their support system, looking at different scenarios of, what would my life look like if I choose to parent as a single parent, if I choose to place the baby for adoption, if I terminate the pregnancy, all these different scenarios. And I would say over the 30 years that I've been doing it, 90% of the time, they just need to talk it out loud and cry a little bit and let someone sit across from them and not give them all that you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't be in this position. You've ruined your life. Instead, we help them see the positive side, that this may change your timeline of your plans, but having a baby doesn't alter and stop your plans, for whatever your goals are in life. And so 90% of them do follow through with the pregnancy. We offer free pregnancy tests. That's, a lot of times that's their first step, is that they want to have that free confirmation of their pregnancy. So that's how a lot of them land on our doorstep.
So, what organizations are open to help now? Let's say people are interested. I know in New York we have the missionaries, the Sisters of Life, and all over the country there are plenty, and all over the world there are plenty. So, not all the organizations though are open to volunteers. So, what kind of organizations are usually open to help, and what kind of help do they really need?
Okay. Well, my experience, like Birthright, we are all volunteers, so we don't have any paid staff.
Mm.
But there's another center in our area called the Klein Center, and they have paid staff and volunteer staff. So every single community, every state is so different as to the number of organizations that there are. I would just encourage anyone who was maybe interested in volunteering to first, if you're pro-life, to first make sure that they are truly pro-life, because some may present themselves as that, but then they offer some things that I would consider not pro-life, like the morning after pill and birth control,
Mm.
counseling and things like that. So, but I would say that any pro-life group would probably be very grateful to have someone who would volunteer. And there are many ways to volunteer because not everybody's comfortable with sitting and talking this through with a woman.
Mm.
And so there are people, we need people to answer the phones and just schedule appointments. And, it's easier to sometimes counsel someone over the phone instead of face to face. And it's just a brief counseling to kind of, get them to see if they want to come in for an appointment. But there's also other things like we need people to do fundraisers. We accept donations of, and most do give out like baby clothing and maternity clothing. And
Mm.
so we need someone to sort that and keep that organized and then put together layouts for the women because most organizations that I'm aware of also, when a client chooses to follow through with the pregnancy, you kind of stay in touch with them and you build that relationship with them. And then as they're going through their pregnancy, we always tell them, contact us if there's anything at all you need. If you have trouble with the doctor, or trouble with, the father of the baby, or trouble with housing, we will find the resources. And I would imagine most pro-life agencies do the same, gather resources, help her mobilize her resources and make sure that all her needs are met so that she can take care of herself and in turn, have the baby in a healthy environment.
Mm.
So we need people who do resource gathering, people who put together those layouts, people who clean the office. That's a very important thing too, and keep everything stocked up, and then naturally fundraisers.
Mhm. Is there any training that is required of people who do want to volunteer, or is this something that you have skills and talents for and you just bring it to the table there?
Well, it depends on the aspect of your volunteerism because another area is that's very important is serving on the board of directors. So that's when you would just whatever talents and gifts you have that can mobilize community resources and help with any aspect of running the center, then we just invite you to come in and do that. I mean, at Birthright, and I would imagine every pro-life group, number one is that you are pro-life and you will not, it sounds funny to say, but we have to make sure that everyone who volunteers with Birthright is pro-life when they're sitting in our office and when they're out on the street because they are still
Mm.
representing Birthright. And so, but then if you're going to be a volunteer counselor, then that takes some very specific training. And for the Birthright Way, we have the same directives that our founder put together in 1968. We still run by those today, that we do not show any graphic photos. We don't do anything that would make her feel uncomfortable or anything that would put any fear in her because she's already worried. She has a lot of fear. She has a lot of things that she's worried about. So we train our volunteers to just very gently lead with questions. And then those questions they start with easy questions and then they build to the harder questions
Mhm.
that she may not be ready to answer when she first walks in the door. But after she understands that we do truly care about her, not just about saving her baby, but we want her to be okay. We want her to make a good choice for her and for her future. If she makes that good choice for her, she's going to make a good choice for her baby because we don't want her to, the absence of a child that was is harder to live with than another mouth to feed.
Mm.
And so we don't lead with the adoption question, but we do counsel every woman who is not ready and willing to raise a child. If she doesn't feel like she's ready for that and equipped for that, then we would toward the end, after we've established that, and if she's open to it, we just ask her if she's would consider that option. And then we encourage her to just speak to a couple of agencies to see how to kind of explore that option for her. We don't facilitate any of that, but we do encourage it, because it is the best choice for her, because women's bodies are designed once we become pregnant, that our bodies work really hard to do everything we can to nurture and grow that baby. And so an abortion, any kind of an abortion, is interrupting that process, and it's harmful for the mother as well.
Mm-hmm. So I know this isn't on the list, but let's say somebody does want to volunteer. How do they go about like filling an application or calling, or what is the procedure to get?
Okay. First, I would look on the website. Pretty much every organization, Birthright has a great international website, and it explains everything, how we do it. If it feels like it's a good environment for you, if it feels like something that your heart maybe wants to speak to, then the second thing I would do is to call and make an appointment, tell them you're interested in volunteering. And so then the next step is to come in and look at the place, meet the other volunteers, sit down with the director for a while and get some real life, this is what it looks like to volunteer here. And then I always give them a copy of our charter, and we go through it together. And I just tell them to take it home and think about it and pray about it and look at it. And if this still feels like something they're interested in, then we begin the training process. So first step is just to go actually physically tour it and meet the people there, and you'll know whether or not this is a place that you think you fit into and that you think you can give some value in your time.
And how do people dedicate their time? Is there something that you have to do every day, or is it like you can dedicate certain hours?
Okay, well, at Birthright, what we do is we ask them to commit to just one shift a week for 2 to 4 hours. So, we understand, like I've been there so long. In the beginning, we had just tons of volunteers. Now, pretty much every household, every person I know has to have a job, just to sustain. Even, people, once they retire from one job, they typically go get another little job. So we understand people are busy. And so we just need these key hours, and we try to get as many days and as many varied hours as we can. So at Birthright, we let them select what works best for their schedule. And if it's like a nighttime, or if they feel more comfortable, then we would ask them, we always encourage them to get a friend to come volunteer with them. And that way, if something comes up and you can't make your shift, you won't feel so bad because your friend will be there, in case a client comes in. So it's just, it's a minimal thing, but we do ask them to treat it like a job. And we understand there's doctor's appointments and vacations and family events, but as a rule, to try to keep your regular 2 to 4 hours every week, because our clients most people learn about us through word of mouth, or just a quick Google search to see what time we're open, and then they'll just show up. They don't usually call ahead and talk about it very much, because they're just trying to make a quick, let me go get this pregnancy confirmed.
Okay. And since you've been in this ministry now for so long, from your own personal experiences, how has this helped you spiritually, or changed your spiritual life?
Changed me greatly. My heart called to it as I was, when I was in high school. So I was raised in a big Louisiana Catholic family, but I don't remember or recall ever having any family discussions about being pro-life and what that meant. Of course, naturally, as I grew, I understood that abortion was a thing, but I never looked at it as a good thing or a true option.
Mm-hmm.
But then my best friend got pregnant in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did a little secret pregnancy test. She didn't want her mom to know. She was terrified. It was positive. And we cried together. And I said, I'm here for you. Whatever you want to do. We were best friends. It's inseparable. I said, whatever you need, I'm here for you. And so she went home, and a couple days later, she called me and she asked me to drive her to an abortion clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just amazing because that was something that I never thought of as an option. And I told her, I love you and I'm here for you, everything. I can't do that. So what else can we do? And so she was upset with me for a little while. And then I didn't realize it then, but that was my beginning of training as a pro-life, as a birthright volunteer, because the Holy Spirit gave me the idea to um, say, let's go talk to your sister-in-law, because she was really close to her sister-in-law. Let's go tell her first and let her go tell your mom with you, so that in case your mom's upset, your sister-in-law will be there to help. And her mother was actually ecstatic because this was her only daughter, and she was just so excited about that, the prospect of having a grandbaby. And so she was so incredibly supportive. And my friend had a daughter, a beautiful daughter, and amazingly enough, she ended up being her only child. She never was able to have another child. So if she had followed through with that, she wouldn't have known the great blessing of being a mom. So that was my first aspect. And then when I found out about birthright, I started in it. So I knew that it's the same thing. Like I wrote in my article, is like, it's the woman at the wheel. It's the neighbor. It's, looking into, it taught me the grace of being able to sit with someone who I know nothing about, but I know, except for that they're hurting in some way. And that my role as a Christian is to love them and to just accept them where they are and let them know that they're not alone. And so it really taught me to not discriminate discriminate against people by what they look like, by what circumstances they have. I don't know if I was ever judgmental in that way, but certainly all these years of work, that's what it's done for me, that I can see how a baby is something that comes from God, and that even under the worst circumstances of conception and whatever the mother is dealing with, as long as she has support and she gets someone who can help her see how to find a way and how to make a good future for her and her child, it always works. It's never a bad choice. I've never had a woman have a baby and come back and say she wished she had not.
And then surely through these long years, you might have faced challenges. So what are the challenges that a pro-life volunteer can encounter in this ministry?
It's challenging when we have fewer abortion calls these days because we don't have an abortion clinic anymore and the pill is available everywhere. But we've had to revise ourselves to just assume that every person who calls or walks in underneath may be hiding the fact that she doesn't want to follow through with the pregnancy. So we have to treat. I've had women who come in and they're giddy and they act like they're excited because they want to be pregnant. And then when I tell them their test is positive, the tears start rolling down and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? And then they were like, well, I didn't think I was pregnant, so I was planning to have an abortion. But then you talk to me about how the baby already has a heartbeat, and now that changes my whole perspective. And they all agree that if they had found that out after the fact, then they would have been upset that they had done that, because that's not what the world tells us. The world tells us we have so many months where doesn't hurt anything to have an abortion. So that's a big challenge, and it's another challenge to sit and listen. I think that's probably one of the hardest things for people, because we tend to want to a lot of people tend to want to just tell people what's best for them.
Mm.
And that's not how you have to do it. You have to let her figure out what's best for her. And
Mm.
you just gently guide her into some positive options, for what she's facing. Another challenge we've had all over the last, especially 10 years, is keeping volunteers and committed donors. Birthright relies 100% on private donations.
Mm.
And so the money always comes in, though, and we always seem to have enough people. We don't run out of clients, we just run out of volunteers sometimes.
Mm.
So that's been a huge challenge.
So if anybody is drawn to this ministry or wants to volunteer somewhere, what would be your words of advice to them?
My advice would be, if there's something inside you that's drawing you to it, then you need to explore it. And I have 4 beautiful children and I have 5 wonderful grandchildren. And I can say that Birthright, from the very beginning when I started volunteering, it captured my heart. I've been doing it all these years. It is the most rewarding work you will ever do. I mean, it is truly life-saving work. And it's one little life at a time. It starts with the mother. You help her save her life. Let her see herself as a person of value and a person who has the right to make her own decisions, because there's always a lot of pressure from family or the father of the baby. So to see her come to that realization that she is of value and that her child is of value, there's just not a greater reward. You won't regret doing this, because there's really not a downside to bringing new life into the world.
So this was really, really nice. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would be inspired to do this. Um, Over the years, as you have done this ministry, what has given you the strength to keep doing it? 30 years is a long time.
It is a long time. And I'm not going to lie and say that I never wanted to stop doing it, because raising kids and getting busy, I did take little breaks here and there, but or sometimes it would just be frustrating. Sometimes I would go to the office and spend 4 hours and the phone would not ring. And so that's also a little bit of a challenge if that's it. But it's like sort of like a firefighter, that when the phone does ring, it could be a life-saving call. But then when sometimes I'd be tired and exhausted and I'd have to make myself get up. There was always obstacles on my day. That was my birthright day. It just seemed like, the evil one was trying to interfere with it.
Yeah.
But every time I felt that way, I would go and there would be that one phone call, and that would keep me going, because I knew that my work was the most valuable work I had ever done. I can't think of anything that I have the skills to do. And everybody has the skills to be a friend. Everybody has that skill. So.
That's really amazing. So I want to say thank you, Monica, for joining us in this podcast. Is there one last liner that you would give to somebody, one parting shot?
I would say look up Birthright. We have centers all over the U.S. and I love the motto of Birthright. It is the right of every pregnant woman to give birth and the right of every child to be born.
That's lovely. So if people want to write to you, get in touch with you, or even become a volunteer with you guys, where can they find you online?
That would be great. The website is birthright.org. And once you go to that website, it asks you what location it'll help you find the location nearest you. And then it gives you the contact information for the local one. So that's a really good way. So you can see if there's a Birthright Center in your area. If not, you can call the Birthright Center and they will be able to help you find one that isn't, something that is close to you. You find one that's a little bit too far for you to drive. Or you can probably help online, because they need people to update their webpage and to update their social media. But another way is to call the birthright. There's an 800 number. So whether somebody listening needs the services of birthright, or if somebody is interested in supporting or volunteering birthright, then they can also call 800-550-4900.
Okay, great. I think this is actually an amazing twofold episode for one for the women who would like to come and meet with you, and two, even for the volunteers who would like to come and work with you guys. So
Yes.
this is
And I feel
great.
like everybody listening is connected in some way. If they don't need our services, they know someone who does. Or one day there may be somebody that a friend who says, my daughter or your daughter's friend is worried because she might be pregnant. Then to be able to have the birthright number in your back pocket and be able to, say, hey, here's where you can get some real help, because it's not just about a pregnancy test and it's not just about having a baby. It's about all of that. We keep in touch with them even after the baby's born. And as important as if she does choose to terminate the pregnancy, we also keep in touch with her because we've already established that relationship. We do care about her regardless of her choice. So we follow up with her and make sure that she's okay afterward.
Yeah, that's really, really nice. So, Monica, it was great chatting with you. I want to say thank you for joining us on this podcast, and all the best to you and your ministry.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.